Alright, so here is the case prep. So we're going to go ahead and slide this off, and you'll get a good look at the inside of this thing. So, alright, so we're going to go ahead and take this cross brace out, because we actually don't need this. This does a couple of things. So this has got sliders on this, so that way you can put pressure on expansion cards to kind of hold them in place. This machine was really designed before they really had those the rear video card locks on the slots for PCI Express, and so that's what those are for. But we really don't need those. There's also a second tray that can go in here that actually holds. It's actually this guy, and this tray right here can actually go in here like this, and actually can hold 2 more hard drives. So I have had these one of these configured one time with a maximum number of hard drives, which is 5, 10, 12, 14. You can get 14 hard drives in this machine if you configure it that way. So, which is kind of a lot. Now you can do, they make cases that will hold, holy cow, in a 4U case like this with hot swap, and you can hold up to like 24, I think now. So, alright, so that comes out. And like I said, we're not going to need it. These are going to come out. These are the stock fans that come with it. And we're going to replace these because these things are noisy. Little buggers. Very, very noisy. Okay, the other thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take our cages out, which are held in with 4 screws. And that is one cage, and there's an identical cage over here. So you can see how there's 4 slots for drives, and you can add another one down here. So, but yeah, there's that one. On this one, we're actually, there's the stock 120 millimeter fan. We're actually going to take this one out. So I'm going to do that. Is it this one? Oh, yeah, it's the screws on this side. Alright, so these 2 screws here. Take this guy out. You're probably thinking, God, that's a rattly machine and whatnot. But it kind of is, but that's our fan adapter. This, we're actually going to take this and we're going to put it in our other cage over here. So that'll give our ventilation for our processor. So there's that. And we're going to go ahead and take these out. Even on this one, the front, they're solid metal. I mean, I can't bend this thing. So modern case, this would be like really cheesy metal, and you could totally like bend this thing in half. You can't with this one. So when I say it's heavy gauge steel, it is heavy gauge steel. Okay. And there's our empty cage. So then that way we can put our dry bay adapter in. So now right here is the external 3.5 bay cage that actually holds two 3.5 bays in it. This, you don't really have to take this out right now, but this is ideal for like a backup drive, or if you wanted to do like hot swap front SSDs or something like that for your OS. That's what I've used these for. And so, but the one nice thing about this case is it's totally modular, so which makes it really, really nice. So that gives us access to our I/O panel over here. This is just a standard USB 2 unit. It's nothing fancy. I'm actually going to very carefully cut this out. Actually, that broke. It's so old and so brittle. The zip tie just broke. Alright. Which is fine. Okay. So all the standoffs are already in here. Get rid of a couple of cobwebs. So, alright. So we're going to pause real quick. I'm going to dust this thing out because I don't know if you can see on camera, but it's a little dirty in here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to dust this thing out, and I'll be right back. Okay. Well, after a little quick cleaning real quick, I'm going to stick this guy back in here. But that'll keep it out of the way. I'm going to take this one and pull this one out. Alright. And then there's that one. Now, if you notice on the bottom here, there's actually 4 holes right here for hard drive spacing. They're actually for the cage. You can actually take these cages and you can actually screw them in from the bottom as an extra security measure to lock them in place. I guess they were worried about the whole thing being able to tip. But really, if you got all 4 screws in on the top, these really aren't going anywhere. So, a little Antec overkill, but that's okay. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and put our fan in here. A little bit of dust that's in there. Okay, so we're going to take our fan that we just pulled out. We're going to take this guy out real quick. Voila. You can go away because we don't need you because you're noisy. I don't use noisy fans. Alright. And then this guy. Alright, so this goes in here like this. And there are actually 2 slots right there. You can see that kind of click in there. There's 2 slots on the side right here, so you can actually see where the tabs stick out. There's 2 slots on the side, and then our screw holes line up. Now you're probably thinking, well, what would you do on the other side, because we're going to use that drive cage? Well, actually the drive cage has, or the hot swap chassis, the hot swap cage actually has a, I believe it's either an 80 or a 90 millimeter fan on the back of it, so it'll work just fine. All right, and that locks that in there. So we'll go ahead and put our 120 millimeter Noctua fan in there. So this is a NFA12 by 25 millimeter fan. This is the high-speed PWM fan by Noctua. And so here we go. That's all the, that's an extension cable. That's the low noise adapter. Again, if you watched the previous video, yeah, I don't get the point of that, but that's okay. So, and I have an extra set of vibration pads. Groovy, don't need them, that's okay. Alright, so I'm gonna go like this. And nice thing about this case is it comes with this nice little purple bracket, so it just is gonna just snap in here. Click and click, and you know you're in. Okay. And we're probably going to need the extension cable. Alright, and then this is standard ATX. Okay, so looking at the motherboard, let's see, yep, we are going to definitely need our extension cable. So we'll go ahead and we'll put it on now, so that way I don't lose it later. There we go. There's our nice little extension cable. And we'll go ahead and slide this guy back in, because this actually has to go down about here. So you can see that this one is definitely not going to reach. So I'm going to take it and just set that back inside there for now. And okay, so then we'll go ahead and we will put our screws back in for our cage. And you notice this has rubber isolators. These isolators are a little thicker than the standard rubber you would see in a modern case. These are like nylon reinforced rubber. So again, something you probably won't see in a modern case, because they just don't make them like they used to. Okay. All right. So there's that. Okay. And we'll go ahead and get our standoff spacing. So go ahead and set up our standoff spacing for our motherboard here. this set up, and then we'll take the extras out. Now, one thing about this particular case, these are extra long standoffs. So the other thing you'll notice compared to like a modern case is, well, and this is still pretty typical of a server case, is that there's no extra back channel to hide all the cables. So there's no cutouts or anything for cable management and whatnot. A lot of servers, that is still true. Alright, quick double check. And those, and yeah, just two on the top. So we'll go ahead and take the extras out here. And they will go in our, I'm going to find it, yep, there they are. Go in our standoff drawer right there, and we're good to go. Alright. So before I go ahead and I screw this guy down, we'll go ahead and we'll put that in. So this goes in from the front, like this. Just like that. Okay. And just like so. Now I'm a bit of a neat freak, so I want to try to make this front about as flush as I can with that. And that won't be a problem with this because we've got ovaled holes. So perfect. Okay, now we need the nannies from earlier. So these are our keys to lock our drive bays, which, if you notice, it uses a funky little triangular lock that is very specific to StarTech, from what I've noticed. That's okay. Yeah. See if we can get away with that. Looks like we can. So actually, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use the holes themselves. One nice thing about StarTech is they give you extra hole outs. So, because you never know what you're going to put this thing in, so. And let's see. So 4 on one side and 4 on the other side is what we'll end up doing. Just like this. That'll keep it nice and solid, and we won't have to worry about it sliding or going anywhere. Because where this is going to be vertically wall mounted, the last thing we want is this coming loose and then sliding down into the motherboard. That would be bad, especially with 4 hard drives in it, because this thing, when you get 4 hard drives loaded into it, it's going to weigh about 10 pounds on its own. So, yep. No bueno if that slides out. Okay. All right, there we go. Make sure I got that last one tight. Okay. I'm gonna take this guy and just drop him right in there like that. Okay. We'll go ahead and put our screws back in here. Hold this in place. All right, there's our cage. Oops. I'm gonna put these back in the bag. Oh, we don't lose our keys. All right, our other 2 fans. All right, so these are Noctua NF-A8 80mm PWM fans. Just smaller versions of the fan that went up front. So, okay, and they're just gonna go right here. Oh, it's not going to behave itself. Let's see. Oops. So these have rubber isolator mounts on them. So we're just going to go ahead and we're just going to take the top 2 off here so we can gain that little bit of clearance. So then that way yep. And looks like I'm going to have to do the same thing with the other 2. So fortunately, like I said before, these fans are very, very quiet, so we're really not too terribly worried. And those are locked in. Alright, so there's that one. Okay, so this fan header has to go all the way over here. So again, we're going to need the extension cable. Alright. And like every Noctua fan, there's our Y cable. Which, actually, I'm going to use the Y cable. So, So, because, let's see, how much room are we going to have? Okay, so it's going to come down here like that. And it's going to have to go, yep, we're probably going to need this. So, we'll always be able to hide the extra cable later. All right, so that's one. Got enough extra Noctua parts, I'm gonna have to make a special Noctua parts drawer. And here's our other one. Alright. Okay, that's gonna go right there. There's one. Chat's locked in there nice and tight, so it doesn't come loose. Oops. Hey, smarty pants. Helps if you put it in the right way. We don't want one blowing out and the other one sucking in, so it's not going to do us any good. So, if you don't already know, so this is always the back of the fan, where the cross sections are. This is always the front, which is the open side. Noctua makes it kind of cool, and a couple other fan manufacturers do this, but they actually put air directional flow, air direction and rotation direction arrows on it, so you can see that. Alright, so we're going to try this again here. Okay, so there's that. There we go. Might put just a little bit of super glue on that just to hold that extra tight so that fan doesn't come around. So if I do that, I'll just put a little dab like right here on the edge just to hold it. So if I do have to change this out, it'll break fairly easily, or the super glue will break off fairly easily, so I can still get the fan out. But yet it's not going to be like totally glued in there, so I have to change the mount and the fan and everything all at the same time. So, alright, so there's our Y cable with our extension. And we're just going to lay that over here for the moment. And later on we'll make that all pretty and neat. So, okay. Alright, well that's basically the end of the case prep. So next we'll do the power supply, and actually we'll go ahead and we'll do the power supply now, and then that'll be the end of our case prep, and then we'll go ahead and we'll do the motherboard installation. that away. Okay. Okay, so this is our EVGA 850 watt power supply. Our SuperNOVA. Fortunately, it doesn't run as hot as a SuperNOVA. That'd be a bad thing. Okay. Now, like I said before, the Magic Book. This thing is totally modular, so there's a power supply with no cords attached to it. Okay. So there's a power supply. Nice breathable unit. 140 millimeter fan on the bottom side. And there is, oops, turn that around here. Alright, and there's all of our headers. So that's our ATX 24 pin. And then these are, they have a marked VGA, but that's our PCIe units. These are our SATA headers or peripheral headers, and these are our CPU headers. So, and then this is all the cables to wire it up. And one Molex to floppy adapter. No floppy in this one. Cables. That is the... Oh, wasn't that handy? That is a power on tester plug. I would assume, one, that comes in really handy for testing, but also two, if you were going to run a dual power supply configuration, then you could actually loop this one so it would just be on all the time. That's cool. Other companies, I've seen it so you could run dual power supply, and they end up using a separate cable to link the two power supplies together. So awesome. Alright, so that's all of our cables. We're just going to set those aside for the moment. Back here. And that's our screws. And those look like pretty decent quality screws, so we're going to go ahead and use the ones that come with the power supply. That and they're black. So that's always a bonus. Even though in this particular chassis it doesn't matter too much. I mean, the outside's black except for the back. The back is gray. Okay. So go ahead and get this guy mounted in here. Alright. Alright, so that's going to go in there like that. Now, one nice thing about a big open chassis like this is if we needed to put, oops, there's a door there that you can't see. If we needed to, we could actually put a long style power supply in here. So like a 1600 watt EVGA T2 power supply would actually fit in this particular machine, depending on the front drive configuration. But yeah, it would actually fit in here just fine. This particular chassis also has a support bracket that's already installed in here that you can take out, and it will allow you to do a dual power supply mount in here. So, or a redundant power supply, not dual. This bottom screw always tends to be a bit of a pain. Okay, there's that. Okay, there's our power supply. Alright, so we're going to stop there for now, and we'll come back here in a minute, and we will, for the next video, we'll go ahead and do a motherboard installation. So, we'll see you in a bit.